Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everyone. I am Luke Crothers, and welcome back to Escaping Through the Lens, the Escaping Through the Lens podcast, I should say. We've covered quite a bit in the last two episodes. We've covered three films technically, leading up to an even bigger film that's coming out in March. But for now, I wanted to focus on something a little bit different, something that I'm sure most of you are familiar with. I want to talk about the John Wick films, and once again, joining me, and also as the show's new co-host, I'd like to introduce, as always, Ray Blakely.
Hello, it's wonderful to be back and to be here as the new co-host.
Yeah, I want a way to start it with a trilogy of. I've got to say, quite phenomenal films. If we're going to begin with like general like thoughts on this, I thought each film to come from this trilogy was fantastic. Even though there are some favourites in this trilogy that I have like over other, compared to each other, I can definitely say that this is the rare trilogy where each film improves upon itself.
I would definitely agree, definitely. And I feel for a trilogy that does take place in such a small amount of time, each movie is very different. I like that. I don't feel like I'm watching the same thing every time. It's a good group of movies that are all very different. I really enjoyed that aspect of them. I don't think I have a bad word to say about these movies. I really enjoyed them. They might be one of my favorite trilogies.
Yeah, unless we want to go over what you said with the Godzilla one, you're saying you didn't have a single bad note on it, but adding Dark Souls to it would be better.
Yeah, well, true. I think that goes for any movie, though. Adding Dark Souls will always make it better.
So, in the beginning, let's start with the first one.
Oh, the first one. I don't, I don't really know how to start off talking about the first one without talking about the dog. Because the start of the movie is the dog, and I feel like that's where we need to start. And the dog always gets me. Why did
Yeah.
they have to kill the dog? Oh, it's so sad. I mean, I was thinking about, how I like a lot of acting in movies. I'm not really more of a visual person. I'm more as kind of the content, including the characters and how they interact and all that kind of stuff. And I was thinking about the actors in this, and I've written down here about the actors, and the main point that I have is the dog. 10 out of 10, best actor.
Best
That's got
actor.
the dog. Best actor in the whole movie, 10 out of 10 for the dog. The dog deserves an Oscar. That dog ripped me apart every time. My heart is shattered every time I see that. I
It
feel
is.
so bad for the dog.
It's very brutal because because you don't really see it coming.
Yeah, definitely. Oh,
And in all honesty, like the dog like didn't really like need to die in that film because all the host Joseph, I think it was like the name of the guy, was only there to like get to get John's car. He didn't need to
what?
kill the dog, but he just did it. He went that little extra mile to make you think, oh, like this man needs to die.
Yeah. I think it did add a bit more sustenance to his character, though. But it just, watching it every time hurts me. It was definitely necessary. I feel like that kind of makes me a bit more involved with the movies. It starts
Yeah.
off so horrific that you do feel like, yeah, I'm on the side of John Wick here. I definitely hope he gets that guy because he got his dog and you kind of back him up more.
Exactly. Like one thing that this film does immediately, which I feel like I want to say something else, something that a lot of other action films do, but I've not really seen like those others. But they give you like a clear reason for wanting to root for the main guy, other than him being, just the main guy.
Yeah, I definitely find that. I feel like they really do a good job in establishing his kind of
His
his
menace.
yeah, his menace. I was gonna say his mystery, his kind of ominous presence. Like even saying his name invokes fear in people. I feel like that was a really good
Yeah.
way to start off a character because you
They
didn't
had me
see.
right. They had me right from the line of when the car dealer was rung by the son's dad. The dad
Yeah.
was I've got the name written on here, Vigo.
Mhm.
Um, they had me right from the line of when the car dealer said he stole John Wick's car and killed his dog, and then Vigo just gives a sort of worried look to the middle distance and just goes, "Oh."
Yeah, I saw that. I feel like for me, I actually have a line written down here as well about which one kind of shows to me just how scary John Wick is and how
Is it the one about Baba Yaga?
No, oh no, but that was a good one. That was
The
he's
one
the
that you said to kill the boogeyman?
boogeyman, yeah. The one I have written down is when he phones up your man's dad calls up John Wick and he asks him basically what's he gonna do? Like is he alright about this? What's gonna happen? And then John Wick says nothing and he puts the phone down. His son asks him um what did he say? And he just says enough. And John Wick didn't say a word, and that got me. I
Yeah,
don't
that.
to hit his whole character. I
I,
thought it was a really
I love the line that immediately follows that when he he talks to a security guard saying task your crew. The guy's like, how many? And then Vigo says, how many do you have?
yeah, definitely. What I love about how they established his character is his interaction with the cop when he's talking to him at
Oh
the
yeah,
door. He's like,
you
"Hello,
working again?
Jimmy. Hello, John. Yeah, are you working again?" And that followed through into the second movie as well. I thought that was a really nice little tag bit that they had in both movies. I really, really enjoyed that interaction.
Which also gives a bit of an explanation towards the fact that God, so many people die in these films,
Oh
so
yeah.
many deaths in so many sort of brutal but creative ways, and it's got to make you think: how does the real world react to this? How does the real world react to like so many deaths? And the way that they react is they don't react because they know what these guys are about.
Yeah, they a lot about this movie is how strong the world building is. They really build up the audience's understanding of okay, they can get away with this because the world is basically it's built before our eyes and we understand it a lot more. With a lot of movies, you're kind of going, how'd they get away with that? How'd they do this?
Yeah.
This seems a bit more realistic. But the
How
world
do they
of John
report this
Wick,
in the news?
yeah.
It's like hundreds of dead bodies were found in New York today, as well as a bunch of others that were like run over by cars. Reporters have put this down to the wind.
Yeah, the world of John Wick definitely gives you a bit more understanding about how they get away with everything.
Yeah, and what's great about that is that it didn't need to do that, but it did it anyway.
Yeah. Yeah, I like that about it. Definitely.
Yeah. Speaking of like the first film itself, because it is the first film in the series, it obviously has like the lower budget because
Mhm.
obviously this was the first time they were trying to introduce this idea. You can
Mhm.
kind of see it in the way that the stunts feel a bit more restricted compared to the next
Yeah.
two. There's a bunch of like licensed songs in there.
Oh, yeah. They had a lot of Marilyn Manson in there.
Yeah.
I really liked the first movie though, like for all those kind of
Yeah.
setbacks comparing them to the other two movies, I think it was really good. I like the characters a lot as well. I thought they were very entertaining to watch.
Yeah, and if we're continuing on like the fact about realism, one thing that I didn't really sort of notice until I saw like a bunch of other people like talk about this film is how realistic like the ammo reload is,
Yeah.
because you don't often see that in action films.
They seem to have
They
this
seem to have like infinite
infinite-
ammo,
Yeah.
but then they only run out when the plot is convenient.
Yeah, I liked that. That was really good. Mm.
Yeah.
I love the cars in it as well. I'm really big into, I don't like sports cars, but old classic cars. So I was sitting there watching him drive around a Mustang. I was like, oh, this is
Yeah.
amazing. I loved it. I think the movies themselves are really beautiful. Like even with the cars and the
Oh, the
fancy
color
sets,
palette is
the
beautiful.
hotels. Yeah. It's everything is gorgeous in this movie. Speaking of gorgeous, Keanu Reeves, that's a 10 for me. That's just gorgeous right there. That won me over the second I started watching it.
Honestly, his commitment to like these to all these films is absolutely phenomenal.
Mhm.
As well as the fact that I think I heard like somewhere that he did around 85% of the stunts himself.
Yeah. I was watching out for that since I saw the first one. I was like, was that? Because there's some times where you can notice that was a bit of a stunt double in there, but whenever you kind of clock onto it, you can kind of contrast to, wait, he did that himself. And I think it makes it a lot more interesting.
Yeah, it's a great way to like commit yourself to the role.
Yeah, definitely. Mm. I liked the way that he interacted with other characters. Everyone kind of seemed to know about his reputation and fear him and respect him, but also a lot of the people got on with him like they knew him personally. I
Yeah,
feel
like
like
Willem Dafoe's character Marcus.
oh, I love Marcus. But every time I see Marcus, I saw that actor show up, and the first thing I thought was, oh my God, it's the Green Goblin.
It's the Green Goblin.
I can't see him in any other role. I didn't go, oh, that's Marcus. I was like, oh, the Green Goblin's back.
Well, you just expected him like you expected like his like final scene where he's like shot by Mrs. Perkins. He's just sort of lying on the floor, and says, "Don't tell Peter," and then just just dies.
Yeah, yeah. And especially the fact that it's set in New
No,
York
no,
with
no.
all the
It
nice
wasn't "Don't tell
buildings.
Peter." It was "Don't tell Harry." I'm getting the
Mm.
lines mixed up.
I just with the New York skyline, I just thought we'd see Spider-Man swing in with all the high-rise buildings. I thought we'd just see him come in one scene, but
It's like
no.
that's like even like Spider-Man fears John Wick.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I wouldn't be surprised. Yeah, I really liked Marcus. I felt bad for Marcus, but I liked how he was like, oh yeah, definitely, I'll go kill John Wick, and then he kind of like double crossed them and tried to help John
Yeah,
Wick. I thought that was a very nice
it's
character
like
point.
it's like he did a double cross when trying to go when trying to like chase down John Wick. Then he did a double cross when he didn't kill him.
Yeah. One thing I did think about Marcus though was the fact that he most of the time when he was trying to kill John Wick, when he was trying to protect John Wick, he was a bit of a sniper, and he had all these really good shots that he could have taken out John Wick, but he
Yeah,
didn't. But I'm thinking John Wick is he's not very vulnerable. He's always kind of got he's always kind of got a good defense up. He's always looking around himself. But
mm.
if Marcus had all these really good shots on him, and everyone else in the movie wanted John Wick dead, why couldn't they have just set up a sniper and shot him anyway? Because Marcus had all these amazing shots, all these amazing opportunities to, so anyone else could have shot him as well.
I guess maybe they're more of a up close and personal kind of
Maybe,
members of the Continental.
maybe, yeah. Oh, but I just thought that's a bit of a weird point where anyone could kill him at any time, but he's this big invincible character.
I mean, I don't know. I don't know about like the people that like a part of like the Continental, but
Yeah. Mm.
I don't know. Maybe they, as again, they maybe like to do things up close and personal. Because like Miss Perkins, why didn't she use a sniper?
True, true. I really liked that whole aspect of the Continental and like the High Table, the Bowery, all those kind of different organizations. I really enjoyed that part of the movie. I
Yeah,
like more interesting things like that than, oh, look, it's a really tough guy killing everybody. Woo, action.
yeah,
I thought that bit more depth really added to it for me.
yeah. It's like it could be that, but then they're like, no, we're actually gonna like set a universe up in this, but not in the like, but not in a way that's too subtle that you could compare us to something like Marvel, where they like blatantly set up 5 films.
Yeah.
Yeah. I will say though, a small sort of critique that I've got about this, the third act kind of felt like they ran out of money.
Really?
I mean, I mean, the final act of like like the whole scene around like the cars sort of ramming into each other is
Yeah.
kind of cool. But I feel like they kind of wasted their money with the nightclub fight scene.
I really enjoyed the nightclub fight scene.
Yeah,
I enjoyed it as well because the music was very good.
yeah.
But
The music was very good in that.
yeah, I will say for the trilogy itself, the soundtracks are phenomenal. They are amazing. But yeah, I do looking back on it now, I do see what you mean about the last
Yeah.
act being a bit
Like how
lackluster.
do you like how do you step up from like a massive gunfight in a nightclub fighting an old Russian man in the rain?
Yeah. I feel like the setting of the docks was a bit dull.
Yeah,
Especially with the rain and it being the whole color palette being quite dull. But I quite liked it. I never picked up on that, but maybe I would if I
yeah.
watched it again.
As well as and I've been saving this note specifically for this film, the
Right.
"Yep, that's me" narrative.
Right.
Because the first thing that you see in the film, like the
Mhm.
first thing that you see in this film, is John Wick crashing into a wall and then climbing out and then presumably sort of bleeding out and then passing out.
Yeah, it's kind of like
And then it cuts right
recording
back
how
to the
you get here.
beginning to see what he's been doing, and then
Yeah.
follows up the events to it.
Yeah. one of those moments.
But then he just doesn't die.
I got here.
And it was all because of a dog that got me here.
I would mess someone up over my dog, so fair play to John Wick. I would, as far as revenge plots go, I think that's a pretty good reason to mess someone up. I mean,
it makes for a good revenge plot. Kind of ruined a little bit when it's made with the that's me narrative, because you know that where he's going, you know that he'll die, and when he doesn't die, you're kind of left thinking, well, what was the point of that then?
Yeah.
Maybe when they were writing it, I don't feel like they had like a proper idea on like how to end it. So I think if they did one more rewrite, it could have worked into that.
Yeah. Whenever I first watched the movie, I thought that little clip at the start would have been more of a flashback, because whenever they go into his wife and what happened to her and their life together, I thought that maybe that bit at the start would be a flashback about like kind of what happened to her and with her, leading up to that, oh no, something tragic's happened to her. I thought that might have been a little bit of a flashback, and then you kind of get sucked into the movie, and then at the end you realize, oh, it wasn't, it was a flash forward. I think that which
they kind of did that when John Wick is trying to go about his day, and he's having sort of like brief memories back to when his wife fell ill and ended up in hospital.
Yeah.
Yeah, but honestly, aside from those like small nitpicks that like into this is this is a phenomenal film.
Oh yeah, definitely. Everything about it is very, very good. I'm trying to have a look through my notes, because everything that I've written is just, whoa, the movie's amazing.
Well, now that we've like talked about the first one, we can move on to chapter 2 this time.
Yeah.
Yeah. First thing that I got to give praise to about this film. First thing, right at the book, I loved the fake out opening.
Right.
I loved the fake out, making you feel like the whole thing is going to be around Vigo's brother, but then it just doesn't turn out to be like that.
I get you now. Yeah. That was good. I also liked how that did connect into the last movie, because whenever I sat and watched these movies, it feels like the story is so much bigger than to be set in the space of like a week or so. Yeah. But to have that little bit connected in, it makes a bit more sense. Like, yeah, that could be set in the same timeline. That does seem quite close knit. Yeah,
it feels like a natural progression. Like,
yeah.
Like not only does the first one not only does the first one only hint at there like being a second story, but the second one makes a continuation that you think, yeah, this is like completely reasonable. Of course he'd like go after his car, and with Vigo dead, presumably the car would go to his possession.
Yeah. It did kind of bother me that they ruined the car in the first 5 minutes.
Yeah.
Because you didn't see much of it in the first one, and I thought, oh, he's gonna get his car back. I'm gonna see more of the car, and then he ruined it in the first 5 minutes. Oh, that bothered me. The beautiful car. There was some bits in the second film I think were a lot more humorous than the first one. I think they tried to inject a lot more comedy in this one, which I liked a lot, because it feels like two very different movies in that kind of sense. I liked that they tried to make it a bit more humorous, but they didn't ruin it with the comedy, which was very good. They did it very, very well.
They do it in a very Christopher Nolan kind of a comedy way, because I remember hearing an interview with him when he was talking about how he wrote comedy moments into the Dark Knight trilogy. Mm-hmm. And he talked about the mind mentality that he always falls on about is when he asked a group of people what they thought about the Indiana Jones films, and they said, "Oh yeah, I love those films. They're so funny." And he reminded them, "Yeah, the Indiana Jones films have funny moments, but they're not funny films."
Yeah, I love those films as well.
Yeah, because I feel like the comedic highlight for me has got to be when John is fighting Cassian and they end up rolling down the stairs. and then they scuffle a little bit, and then they end up falling down even more stairs.
Yeah, I liked. I think it was Cassian, when they were in the train station and one was up on the stairs at the top and one was down the corridor below, and they're walking through these groups of people, but they were shooting each other. And every time people walk past, they try and shoot each other, and then they kind of like look away. I thought that was hilarious. It's
Yeah.
one of those things you can't explain it. You need to watch it to get the full effect. It is. I had me in hysterics. I thought it was fantastic.
Not to mention in the like scene that follows it when they're like just about to like get on the train and they're sort of like just sort of casually sort of looking at each other. I would have
Yeah.
used. I would have loved it if in that moment like the train like passes by them, but then John Wick uses that as like a cover to sort of leg it.
Yeah, I do love the interactions between John and everyone who is trying to kill him slash who he's trying to kill. Because when they go into the Continental, you actually do get that more of a revelation about why they're doing what they're doing, and a bit more background, and they feel a bit more human. Because in a lot of movies, this might sound a bit morbid, but whenever it's a revenge plot and they go to kill somebody and they finally kill them, I feel like all that build up has been wasted for that 2 seconds where they got them. Like they killed them.
Yeah,
I feel like to have them talk about it and have them actually reason what they're doing and have it out with each other a bit more. I feel
yeah.
like the end result of him finally getting the guy is a bit more pleasurable than it would be just go, oh, we got him and that's it.
It's a problem in other action films that they both could follow on, that they could try to do, but also couldn't do, because as you said in moments like but there's like a massive build up for like two characters to fight, and then they
Mhm.
and then like killed within like a short amount of time. You feel like all that build up has been for nothing.
Yeah.
That's mostly because in that instance of a fight, why would they sit there having like a 2 to 3 minute conversation when they're like supposed to be killing
True.
each other? Whereas in these films, they introduce as a reason for them communicating, which is that blood cannot be spilled on continental grounds.
Yeah. I feel like I just like the revenge to be a bit more sweet. I think
Yeah,
that's it.
and it also
It's more about me than the movies.
yeah, and it also like paves the way for uh, it also paves the way for unique characters. Like I don't remember like the name of, but the selectively mute girl, the one that spoke in
Yes.
sign language.
Yeah, she was played by Ruby Rose.
Ruby Rose, that was it. Yeah,
Name either. But yeah, I know who you mean. I thought her character was very, very good. Mm.
she
Oh.
made for a very good twist because when I first back when I like first watched this film like ages ago, I
Mm.
couldn't make sense around like why like Santino. The threat of the second film was
Yeah.
like placing the bounty on like John's head when he'd literally like just like got rid of the marker. And
Mm.
but then I remember watching it and remembering that it was Ruby Rose's character that tried to kill John in Rome when he was sent to kill Gina. And then when it's revealed that Ruby Rose's character is working for Santino, I was like, oh right, she was
Yeah.
working for him, so it was a trap.
Yeah. I do quite like how the movie does its twists because they're not so shocking that they don't make sense, but you
Yeah,
understand like everything is like, yeah, that could happen. That makes sense. It's not like, oh, whoa, they've just switched up the movie and it's a big surprise. I think it's a lot more relaxed in the way they do their twists. I quite like that.
so it's like they don't go to the length of like, oh my, John Wick was Palpatine's son or something.
Yeah, nothing like that. Nothing that seems too out there, but it's still a good John Wick movie. It's like, yeah, this is strange and unrealistic, but it's not too far out.
Yeah.
Mm. There's one point I do have here that I like in the content of the movies whenever he's like killing people. You see a lot more of the victims' faces and their reactions because I feel like maybe it's just myself, but watching the acting of someone acting being strangled or something is a lot more interesting than watching the person doing the strangling. I feel like this movie, in the way that it's shot, really gives the full performance of the person that's acting as a victim. I really like that because a lot of action movies, it's like, oh, he's been shot and he falls to the ground and that's it, or oh, someone's been hit and then that you don't see them. I think they really give a lot more spotlight to those that are
Yeah.
doing a really good job in their acting.
It takes advantage of its age rating very much like how Kong Skull Island did and the Godzilla
Yeah.
films.
There's so many scenes in this that are grim. Like the last movie, especially with there's people being absolutely mutilated left, right, and center.
Yeah. Oh, with the second film particularly, do you want to talk about the pencil kill?
Yeah.
I winced at that.
The iconic pencil kill. He just goes around killing people with pencils.
Just like it's like only talked about in like stories of like I once saw him kill a man in a bar with a pencil, and then in this film you actually see him kill someone with a pencil.
Yeah,
2 people in fact.
In a bar. Oh yeah, I love the bit in the last one where he kills a guy in the library with a book. I was thinking if you just give him a back to school kit, he's deadly.
You give him
a pencil case and a backpack full of books, and John Wick's your man. He can kill anyone.
Yeah. Another great detail, of sort of like I think that I could give praise to the second film as opposed to the other action films is I'm very as I'm going to try to see if I can word this without me sounding like a douche, but I'm very impatient.
Yeah.
I've noticed that when me and my sister have recently started watching the Clone Wars for the first time.
Right.
And in the first season, there's a lot of talking about battle plans. Like we're going to go for this battle formation, and then you go to the evil team, and it's like we're going to go for like this battle formation. Then you cut back to the good side. It's like we're going to do this battle formation. Going to the and it just kind of like drags. It's like I know you want to talk about it, but can you just get to the fight? But in this film, the build up to the Rome assassination with like John getting accustomed with all his like different weapons, the layout of the place, and like putting on his suit, I was actually engaged with and sort of like satisfied watching it.
See, I tend to like slow burn movies. So that never really bothered me, but it's really good that a movie that had quite a slow build up to the action really engaged you. I think that says a lot about the movie itself.
And what better man to supply John Wick with the tools necessary than the guy from the kitchen gun sketch?
Yeah, I mean he's definitely your man.
He was also in Shaun of the Dead.
Oh, right. I didn't clock on to that. I did notice, however, every time Winston showed up, the guy that runs the hotel, I just thought, oh my God, it's Blackbeard.
Oh yeah, from on Stranger Times.
Yeah.
Tides, not Times. Don't know why I said Times.
Stranger Times. Well, these are strange times.
These are very strange times, admittedly, yeah.
Definitely. Makes sense.
Last thing that I definitely like to discuss about this film, which is definitely the lead up to like the third film, when John breaks the rule.
Yes, when he sheds blood on continental ground. Yeah.
Yeah.
He did not need to do that. He could have just waited until Santino had left the building.
But at that moment, like Santino was like taunting him, saying, he's saying, as a man can live here like for a very long time and not have the same meal twice.
I also feel like
I both love and sorry, I'll let you. Sorry.
No, go on.
I both love and sort of like hate the idea of like no blood being able to be spilled on continental grounds, because on one hand, you know, as you said, it allows for like conversations like between like the killers. On the other hand, it's the equivalent of playing Tig on the playground and then having like the safe wall.
Yeah.
And just sort of taunting the other person, saying that you can't get me. Yeah. That's what it feels like.
But I always thought about it whenever he checks in the first one, he stays 3 nights and he gives 3 pieces of gold. And in the second one, he comes in for 1 night and he gives 1 piece of gold. And I feel like that's good to have that limit on how long you can stay there. You're only safe for as long as you can pay, and then you're kicked out in the street. So for how rich you are, you can stay there for longer, but you only have a set amount of time. I think that's a really good limit on it. But also, whenever I was watching the Santino death the first time round, I thought, what? Why did John kill him? He could have just waited. But the second time round, I was like, well, Santino's on the high table now. So even if he does kill him off continental grounds, he's still going to be come after by the high table. So that, to me, made sense the second time. But the first time, I was like, what? What's he doing?
Yeah. Not to mention, it makes sense with how John Wick basically did that to, you know, clear his market and, you know, get back to the life that he wanted to have before Santino burnt down his house. And how Santino was basically doing, like, everything to, like, you know, not let him have that.
Yeah.
It's almost like he's taunting him.
I did like the aspect with the markers. I love this movie. I know everyone loves it for the acting and the action and the visuals and stuff, but I love the rules in it. I think that sounds really sad, but I love the fact there was so many rules and regulations, and I love the politics of it. I think that made it really interesting for me, which does sound kind of boring.
No, I totally get that. It made, but because you know about me and politics, where but when it comes to things like Star Wars, but with this, it made the political side of it interesting for me.
Yeah. I think that kind of explains more what I mean about Phantom Menace from the last episode we did. I love the whole political side, and I think that kind of explains it a bit more.
So, but yeah, the whole fact that John does kill someone at Continental Grimes obviously means that he is, as they say, excommunicado.
Excommunicado, indeed. I quite like that. They had a
Yeah.
fancy name for everything in that movie,
Yeah.
and it's made it a lot more grand.
And I felt genuinely intimidated by the last scene in this film. It wasn't. It started off with like when John was like invited to that big area, and then the guy just like talks on his phone, and then like everybody in the park just turned around to look at him just to walk off. It's
Yeah.
like you don't know where they're going, but you know they're out there.
Mhm.
And then when you hear that he's going to be excommunicado in about 1 hour, and you see him sort of like running through the park frantically whilst other people are like getting the messages on their phones, and
Yeah.
because to follow up on what the first film did with like how to make like how to make an intimidating protagonist, you make the villain absolutely terrified at the mere mention of their name. What the second one does is, how do you make a terrifying threat? Make that same hero running for their life by something you can't see coming.
Mhm. Definitely. They did really well in building that up, I think. All the characters in this are so interesting. You can just look at them and you go, wow, they've got power, they've got threats. Like, no one's going to touch them. I think they did a very, very, very good job of building up the characters in this movie. There was one thing I forgot to mention about the first movie that bothered me.
Oh, go on.
It's at the end when obviously he lost his dog at the start, but at the end he goes into like a vet's and he gets a new dog. He just takes it out. But for me, I'm wondering, was that kind of like a stray dog? But why would it be in the vet's where he got the treatment for himself? So did he just nick someone's family pet? That bothered me. Like some family is getting a phone call saying, "Sorry, love, your dog's gone," and then they're gonna deal with having their dog. But John Wick's out here running around shooting guys with their dog by his side.
I feel like all you'd need to do is like say like his name, and then I feel like the family would be okay. With, like him taking, it's just like, oh my god, it's like they're like taking the family dog. Like, who was the monster responsible for this? John Wick. Oh,
it's all right. No bar, mate. See you later. Yeah, I get that. Oh.
But to end the discussion on the second film, I will say, in my personal opinion, like thinking about like the second film as a whole, if I was to give up my general thoughts on it, I'll say I'd say it's both better than the first one and my favorite of the trilogy.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
Not to say anything but not that like not to try and say anything bad about the like third film, but let's get into the third film.
Oh, definitely. I think the fights in this film are my favorite. The way they are choreographed and the way they're shot. I think my favorite fight scene maybe of all time is in this film, and it's when he's fighting the guys in the museum with all the old artifacts, and he's just not using guns. He's just not like fist fighting people. He's using like the little throwing knives. He's using the push daggers. He is getting in there with some weird things. Like he throws an axe at a guy's head at the end. That I think is just a really interesting fight where you're so engaged because it's all these new stuff you haven't seen before. I thought it was really, really interesting.
The fights are definitely at their best in this film, which comes from the how successful these films have been and reaping the rewards of them. Like they're not like cutting slack just because they've been able to make more money off them. Like no, they're making use of every dollar that goes into them.
Yeah. I saw the first two and then I absolutely adored them. So when the third one came out, I went to see it in cinema and it was an experience. It was one of the most fantastic films I've seen in cinema. It was really, really good for a theater experience. It was top quality.
Like King of the Monsters, I am very disappointed in myself that I missed seeing it in cinemas, but I'm making it a priority to go and see the fourth one because I know it's coming. They've announced it.
Oh yeah. I mean, the ending of the third movie was left so loosely that they could definitely make a fourth one, and I hope they do.
I think that's definitely what they're setting up with how they ended the third film.
Definitely.
One thing that this film does is I think this film is deeps the divers dives the deepest, deeps the divers. Why did I say? See, this is what happens when you binge them all in a day.
Your brain's turned to mush. Like, that's it. I'm carrying this podcast now. Luke's brain has gone to mush. This is why you brought me in here.
This is why I needed a co-host.
It's all too much for you now. Do you want to try it again?
Right, yes. Rewind that. So, this film, I nearly said it again.
Oh, we'll get there eventually.
This film dives the deepest, hey, there we are, got it, into John Wick's past.
Mm-hmm.
We find out that his real name is Jordani Jovanovic.
Yeah.
Yeah, as it explains it sort of explains like where he was raised.
Mm-hmm. I really liked that. And also, I liked how it kind of explained his tattoo, because I always saw, like, in the first film, you get a really good shot of it when he's in the shower. And yes, I really enjoyed that scene. But also,
Because it's Keanu Reeves.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a top quality scene. Go watch it. But yeah, I thought that it explained all the kind of, because everyone else in that was they were Russian. They were like Romany kind of. Oh, I can't remember now. But the kind of, I thought it was like a cult or like a kind of gang that he was raised in. They all had the same tattoos, and it kind of explained a lot more about him because you saw that little clip in the first film, and you're like, oh, I remember that. That kind of links. That's another little like loose end tied up, and I feel like the last movie did a really good job of tying up those kind of loose ends, and it gave a really good reason for why he spoke that language before as well. So you realize, oh, that's why he speaks Russian and all the other languages and different things. It's like, yeah, he makes a lot more sense. There's a lot of questions from the first two films that get tied up through seeing his experiences in that kind of gang.
Which also because his name, his name, like his original name is Russian. It also kind of like gives a hint as to how he used to be an associate of Vigo in the first film.
Mm-hmm. Definitely.
I want to see a film around the impossible task that he had to do to get out.
That would be nice. That would definitely be nice. I feel like that one would be a lot more hard hitting because of the fact that he was doing it so that he could be with Helen, the woman that he loved, and I feel like his reason for doing all the stuff he was doing now was explained in the last one, that he wanted to be alive to remember her. But I feel like if they did a film about how he got out and the impossible task, his drive would be for her, and I feel like we'd see a very different side of him.
Yeah, we definitely would see like a very different side of it because we don't really know like what John Wick was like before all the before all the commitments and the focus and the sheer will.
Yeah, we're seeing a completely different character. I think that would be quite interesting to see his drive to be with the woman he loves and to do all these crazy things, and whatever the impossible task was would be really interesting. Like how far they could push a man to be with someone he loves would be quite a movie, I think. That'd be very, very interesting.
If I was to, because I mentioned before about like the second one being like my preferred of the. I will say that this the third one, I will say better than the first one. I wouldn't put it over the second one, but I will say it's
Mhm.
in terms of what it does, like production wise, it is definitely like the best, but not my favorite, if that makes sense.
Yeah. I feel like they did try to squeeze a lot into the last movie
Yeah,
with him going to I can't remember where it was now.
but I know
Can't,
what you mean. Yeah, yeah, yeah. But
yeah,
like in the middle of the desert as well.
yeah, what they were the Arabs and whoever Sophia was, and then he went into the desert, and then he comes back, and he's doing all these different things. There was just so much in that one movie, whereas I feel like the other two movies were perfectly paced, and you got a good round off at the end, whereas this one was very stretched out. I did like how they developed the Bowery and the Bowery King a lot more. I really liked his character, but I feel like they were just trying to do a bit too much in one movie.
Yeah, because I feel we mentioned the desert. I feel like it's the second act of this film that I feel like kind of suffers the pacing issue.
Yeah. Hmm.
I look at it in the same way that I see something like the first film, like the first two acts of the first film are great. Then the third act is is only just overall solid.
Yeah.
In this chapter, as you mentioned, because they try to put so much into this film, eventually it has to give, and I feel like the second act is where it kind of happens. But then but then eventually it does pick up when you get into the third act.
Yeah. I definitely agree. Looking back on it now, I did like the second act though for the fact that we got to watch John Wick cut his finger off, and that was just really interesting.
Oh, but when I watched that film for the first time, I was just not expecting that, and I was just really
Uh,
taken aback by the same way that I didn't expect in the first act for him to kill someone with the back feet of a horse.
oh, true. The amount of times he had that horse kick somebody was quite good. I really enjoy things like that, watching really interesting deaths and really interesting accidents. So my favorite bits in that was the guy that he stabbed right through the eye, the guy that he threw the
Yeah,
axe into his head. He stabbed a guy right through the skull, and the ballerina who just tore her toenail off for no reason. That was fantastic.
yeah. Like this film, I could definitely say definitely goes like the craziest in terms
Oh
of
yeah.
it. Like I'm sat there watching it, and I'm thinking I've got to the point where John Wick is escaping a bunch of motorcyclists on a horse, and I'm all right with that.
Yeah. Like if I was to watch this in the cinema again, if one of those movies where you go in, you have your popcorn, you're eating it, and then you see all these horrific things, and you just kind of put your popcorn to the side and go, "Oh, I'm not hungry anymore. I've just watched someone get stabbed through the eyeball." It definitely gives you that kind of stomach churning feeling that,
Yeah.
like, oh, I'm just put off my dinner after this.
And then if you were like if you were to like watch it in like the cinemas again, you'd be engaged for the first time, and then when you see like John Wick walking through the desert, be like, right, I could use this time to just go through to the toilet because nothing much is gonna happen here.
Definitely, yeah. Oh, I feel like the guy really bigged it up when he says, walk to the end of the desert, look up, walk until you're almost dead, and keep walking. And I thought, oh, that sounds like a really interesting, exciting expedition. Like, let's watch him walk to the end of the desert until he's almost dead, and it'll be really exciting and like quite like amazing because he's going to be almost dead. That's interesting. But no, he just walked and walked and he walked some more, and then he got fined by a man with a camel, and that was, that was kind of it.
Yeah. So like I guess the only thing that would irritate him would be the sand because sand it's coarse, rough, and irritating, and it gets everywhere.
Oh, definitely. Oh, I love that quote. I see that coming a mile away. That was a good one.
I saw an opportunity and I seized it.
Nice one. Nice one. Oh. But yeah, that was definitely, and for the guy, the elder, to only show up for a couple of minutes. He's just chilling in the
Yeah.
desert. Yo, John, give me your finger, and then he just buggered off again. And that was like, oh, he didn't really do much then, did he?
Yeah.
Because for someone that's going to be not under the table, not on the high table, not above the high table, but like the elder of the high table, you'd think they'd have a lot more majesty and a lot more purpose around
Yeah.
them. But no, he was just a guy chilling in the desert, taking fingers, and that was it.
There's a guy just chilling in the desert and taking figures. Again, only in John Wick.
Only
we've
can
got
John
we,
Wick do
we,
it.
we've gotten to the point where we're seeing people chilling in the middle of the desert just taking fingers, and we're totally sort of cool with that because I feel like these films have like naturally been able to like set our mindset into this. They don't
Yeah.
feel jarring.
Yeah. It's so far from reality that you're sucked in, but you're not going, that's a bit odd, or nah, that couldn't happen. You're really engaged.
Yeah.
They do the world building so well. I think it always just comes back to that is it is so creative but so well executed. It just doesn't feel silly at all.
The one stretch that I feel like they go a little bit too far with is with the ending, because one of the things that they set up with the Bowery King
Mhm.
is that the adjudicator like sets him like about 7 days to try and track down John, but because
Yeah.
like John is like walking through the desert, he can't really do that considering like his birds are sort of stuck to the New York area,
Yeah.
which means he ends up getting 7 cuts
Mhm.
and sort of presume like left for dead.
Mhm.
And then when you see him in the ending,
Mhm.
a lot of questions just kind of like gather my mind because none of his none of his friends could have seen him because they were all killed
Yeah.
by Zero's henchmen.
Mhm.
And
I
not only that, but he was cut 7 times. One of them clearly a scar right across his face.
True. But then I look at that and I think, look at all the stuff that John Wick has survived. Maybe this
Yeah,
man is on John Wick's level. See, that didn't bother me so much. What bothered me more was the fact that John Wick didn't die at that time.
yeah. I thought that a little bit as well. The fact that he fell from so high,
Yeah, he got
clearly
shot
like physically
so many
damaging himself.
times. Yeah, so many bullet wounds. He got absolutely trashed falling down that building. How did he not die? That was crazy. That's actually crazy.
Maybe that's one of like the other fears of that comes from John Wick is like no matter how many times you damage him, he somehow still manages to get up.
Yeah, the beauty of the Baba Yaga, I guess.
Can you imagine if like they did like the John Wick film where they started it with him like being shot by Winston and falling off like the building and falling on the floor, and then they said, "Yep, that's me." Probably running how I got into the situation, and then went right back to the beginning to see how it led up to that.
Yeah.
That would have
Oh,
been.
that would have been interesting. Yeah. Oh, no, that.
It would just make you think like, is he going to die from this? Because I'm pretty sure nobody could have survived that, but he did. Like, he's incredibly shaken, but he did.
The fact that he was even conscious at the end, like if they had have knocked him out, but the fact that he could like raise his hand and he could agree with the Bowery King, he was still conscious, he was still with it, and I don't understand. Like,
It's
yeah, let him survive, but let him actually have the consequences of being shot and thrown off a building. There didn't seem to be any like problem with him. He was fully there.
I mean, consequence is a strong factor in like all three of these films.
Mm,
Like, like we talked earlier about how each film like just sort of like subtly sort of leads into the other.
yeah.
A lot of consequences are met for a lot of like characters' actions. You know, for when they do something that's against like the high table's law.
Hmm.
And
Yeah.
I feel like John Wick has already like suffered a lot of like consequences considering all that he's like he's lost his wife, he lost
Hmm.
his car, he lost his dog, he lost his house,
Hmm.
he lost this supposed ticket, which means he can't be helped by the orphanage ever again. He lost one of his fingers
Yep. He eventually lost his protection from the
from the Continental.
Continental, yes, from the Continental. He annoyed the whole of the high table.
Considering that how crazy it gets like towards the end with like how like the Bowery King survived and like how John
Mhm.
Wick survives, it gives me the mindset of this fourth film that they're clearly setting up is going to be absolutely bonkers, and I'm all for it.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. He wants revenge, and I think it might go back to the basics of what John Wick is. It is a good revenge plot, and I think we're gonna finally see that
Yeah,
come back out of John again. Also, to see more development from the Bowery King, I feel like he's gonna kind of sit back and be the whole coordinator of this operation because he is the
yeah,
king, and I feel like he's gonna kind of conduct the whole shenanigans that goes on, and John Wick's gonna be the pawn that goes out and gets everything done.
yeah.
That's
I'm
really
hoping there's going to be a lot more like development for the Bowery King because Lawrence Fishburne is a great actor, but I didn't really get a lot from the Bowery King.
Yeah, I want to see why he's king, why he has all this majesty, all this power. You
Yeah,
know, what's he done to get all this kind of stuff? I feel like that should be an interesting point to see.
yeah,
It's definitely good whenever you come out of a series of movies and you think, wow, that was really good. There's a possibility of more, and I really want more. Because a lot of movies, they'll do sequels and trilogies, and then they'll have a solid load of movies, and then they'll try and squeeze more out of it, and they ruin it and they cheapen it. But this is one of the kind of movies where I'm like, I want to see more because I know they'll do well because they have done so well, and they've proved that every time.
yeah, absolutely. Like this film in particular, did phenomenally well. It had like a budget of around like $52 million, and it
What?
made and it made 200 million at the box office.
Oh my goodness. That's
It
really good.
it also earned like Keanu Reeves a chance to like have his handprints and footprint.
Hmm.
Yeah. And he was incredibly humble about it, because at the event where he like had to give his speech about it, he just
Hmm.
spent the entire time complimenting the other people he'd been working with.
Aw. He would be. He's just wonderful. Gotta love Keanu Reeves. Oh, I think he's wonderful.
Yes, it's like got to the point where I can't really sort of see like anyone else in the role of John Wick.
Oh yeah, definitely. Definitely not. He is just John Wick himself. He is the Baba Yaga.
Like he's the embodiment of what John Wick is.
Hmm. I think he's cool. He has nice hair as well. I like his hair. That's good.
It's weird like seeing him without a beard in like some of his older films.
Yeah. Have you ever seen Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure?
I haven't seen it, but I do know of it.
Yeah, it's a really, really cringy, like, I think it's a 90s movie, and it's really cringy. It's all that kind of like,
Oh yeah, I've seen like a bunch of like clips of it, and
yeah,
I'm aware of like how cheesy it is looked at.
it's so strange to, because I've seen both of the Bill and Ted movies, and I think they made a new one as well. But to see him in this role is a complete 180. It's
Yeah,
absolutely shocking to see.
I've
And
also seen him in another. I've also seen him in like another cheesy like a film from the '90s. I think it was Speed.
I've heard about it. I haven't seen it though. But I think it really proves how much of a amazing actor he is, that he can pull this
Yeah,
off.
I've also seen him in like the entirety of like the Matrix trilogy.
Mm. See, those are some movies that I haven't watched and I'm needing to. Are they worth it?
I don't know. Maybe we could potentially dedicate a future episode to them. Who
We should
knows?
find out and then let you know. That's a good idea, maybe. Hmm. Matrix. Just writing it down. Matrix. Go watch.
Just right in the same sort of list as like what Captain America did when he was like writing down all the things he had to catch up with.
Hmm. That's me right now doing my homework. Yeah.
But yeah, to like conclude my thoughts on what we've discussed with these films. If I was to give like an order of, I mean, I already like gave the order of like where I'd like put these films before, but uh, the order goes from the bottom. It goes the first one, the third one, and then the second one. I absolutely love the second one.
Ah. My order from the bottom would go the third one, the second one, then the first one at the top.
Oh,
I think I
so
really
it's just all just downhill from the first one.
no, I think they're just
That's I'm kidding. I'm
the
kidding.
the first one has everything that I love about it encapsulated into one movie, and then the second and third movies kind of just take bits of that and expand on it, and I really enjoy that. But just to have it all in one is just really nice.
Yeah, that's understandable.
Yeah, and that's how I would round it up. I like it. I
Yeah,
like its understatement.
well, definitely. I like the fact that I've like put these in sort of like orders of like which one that I prefer over the other. Should definitely not understate the fact that all three of these films are fantastic.
Yeah, agreed. They are all solid films.
Like aside from like a few of like the pacing issues and sort of like the smaller problems that we mentioned,
Mhm.
like throughout like the other films, I could definitely still say that as a whole, the trilogy is incredibly solid.
Yeah, definitely. I think these are kind of movies that you have to look really hard to find faults, and there is only one or two very minor things. Whereas we look at movies that we've reviewed, like Skull Island, there are some big faults that you don't have to look that hard to find. Whereas these movies, you can watch and just thoroughly enjoy them without thinking too much
Yeah,
about, oh, there's some bad things, oh, there's this and that. You don't think about that. You enjoy John Wick. That's all you
exactly.
can do. You just enjoy John Wick.
Which, given the fact that other action films fail to stretch even beyond to fail to even make it to a second film, should
Mhm.
definitely give credit to like how phenomenal these films are.
Yeah.
It was able to it it was able it was able to make a trilogy story out of uh, out of an idea and not let the idea grow stale.
Yeah. And didn't have to pull up all these other fanciful ideas and try and make it a bit more
Yeah,
exciting. And yeah, they just really expanded on it very well. Yeah, I think that definitely encapsulates the wonder of the John Wick movies.
yeah. It's kind of there's kind of like an irony to it, particularly with like how it starts with like the first one, because I feel like when the first one came out, it was a bit of a surprise.
Yeah.
Like you never really expected a film like that to come out and be as amazing as it was. Which,
Mhm.
given the mystery that they build around John Wick being unexpected, kind
Mhm.
of again like shows the irony of it.
Yeah, agreed. Definitely. Well, they are very good. Don't really know what more to say then. They are amazing movies, and if you
Yeah.
haven't seen them, go watch them.
Oh yeah,
They're
I definitely give these a watch. I got
fantastic.
them on Blu-ray to watch them in their in the best quality. And I'm not sure about how other people could I watch the other ones because I know the third one is on Netflix,
Mm, it
but
is.
I'm not too sure about the other two.
Ooh, maybe just don't do what I did and find them somewhere online. That's what I did. But
Yeah. One
yeah.
thing that I want to end on was it's a, it's a joke that was made about but not sort of a joke, but somewhat funny around these films that I heard like quite a while back. It was an interview done with Keanu Reeves around the second one. Uh, the interviewer, I forget his name. I think it was either Simon Mayo or Mark Kermode
Right.
who like interviewed him. One of the questions that they asked him towards the end of it was like, how would he feel about the idea of the Continental like getting its own spin-off? And this was like Keanu Reeves' answer was like, I don't know, man. I mean, like a hotel like getting its own spin-off. Like, whatever happened to Fawlty Towers? Did that ever get a spin-off?
Oh my goodness.
And he suggested the idea of like there being like a sort of like Faulty Tower style Continental.
That would be amazing. I would watch that in a heartbeat.
Yeah,
I'd love
it's like I told the interviewers, like, imagine that idea, just get a hotel with a bunch of like all the worst assassins in the world, get it run by John Cleese. I think that'd be amazing.
Yeah. They would definitely have to bring back John Cleese to do that. If they didn't have anyone that matched up to Basil Fawlty, it just wouldn't be Fawlty Towers. They need a good, strong character to bring that back, and I feel like it'd only be successful if they had anyone that could embody Basil Fawlty.
Oh yeah, definitely. Definitely don't make the same mistake that they did quite a while back when they wanted to bring Faulty Towers into the States.
Oh God. Oh no.
Yeah, 'cause I heard about this on Top Gear, like ages ago,
Mm-hmm.
and they said they wanted to bring Faulty Towers into the States, and they said they liked it, but they felt one of the characters wasn't working. Could you guess which one they got rid of?
Basil Fawlty.
Basil.
Oh, that's not right. Oh my goodness. Oh, that's sad.
It is. But before we go even like further off topic, I feel like that was like a very good place to end.
Yeah. Stop before we drift any further.
Yeah. Don't do what we did like with like King of the Monsters, where we swayed a little bit into Doctor Who
Yeah, and Star Wars.
and Star
Before
Wars.
before before both our brains turn to mush, I think we should stop there.
Yeah. But as always, thanks again for joining me for this, Ray. And once again, welcome as the co-host.
Thank you very much. I'm happy to be here, and I'm looking forward to more episodes.
Indeed. And with that said, thank you all for listening, and I will see you next week. This has been Luke Crothers recording for Escaping Through the Lens.